All right, y'all. This is Dr. Wright. You know, if I'm on here, the baby is sleeping. I got the heater on because it's cold. Some of my numbers look like they've been through something, y'all. That's because of my pen. I can't help it. They just look like they've been fighting, and that's okay. Now, here I have a multiplication problem, and this digit right here, see this one right here? This one tells me how many rows I'm going to have in my multiplication problem. When multiplying, you always start with your ones. Okay, the two is in the ones place. As a matter of fact, it's the only number there. So remember, it's ones, tens, hundred, thousands, so on and so forth. So we start with our ones and then we multiply from right to left. So in this case, first we're going to do 2 times 0. And you know that 2 times 0 is 0. So then that number goes here. That's pretty simple, right? Not too bad yet. And then we do that same 2 times 5. So 2 times 5, as my mother texts me, 2 times 5 equals 10. Now, here's the thing. Whenever you get a number that has double digits, you got to be careful and watch what's going on. Here, we're lucky because we can write the 0 and then the 1. You see, I wrote it backwards because in math, especially in multiplication, you write from right to left. So it's still the number 10. I just wrote the 0 first. And we'll see how this changes as we do multiply by two-digit numbers. So that wasn't so bad. This is a good example. Let's check out another one. All right. So I have my next page, and as you can see here, I have 15 times 3. Now this is going to get more interesting because my first one that I multiply is 3 times 5. And you'll see that I say the 3 first and not the 5. And I do that so that you do not get confused in how it's multiplied because we multiply from the ones place first. Now, 3 times 5 is 15. Remember, I told you whenever you get a number that has more than one digit, you got to be careful because you can't just come down here and write a 15. That's not going to work. You have to write the 5 and then carry the 1, which is really a 10, just so you know. That's not a real 1. That is actually a 10, but we'll just say it for demonstration's sake. We just split the 1 and the 5 up. They can't be together. All right, when it's more than one digit, they can't be together. So you put the 5 and you carry the 1. All right, I'm finished. The next thing I'm going to do is 3 times 1. Remember, I'm using my ones and I'm multiplying. 3 times 1 equals 3, but I have to add this 1 that I carried. So 3 times 1 is 3, plus this 1 right here is going to make it 4, and then I write it down. Why? Because I write from right to left. Still not too bad, right? Let's look at this one. 20 times 5. We go 5 times 0. 5 times 0 equals 0. That one was straightforward. And then 5, again, we work with the number in the ones. 5 times 2 equals 10. And so again, I'm just going to write it backwards. 5 times 2 is 10. And boom, there you go. Not bad at all. Now I'm going to do one that has two digits, right? So let me add a brand new one here. And let's say instead of 20 times 5, I'm going to make it 20 times 15. Again, instead of 20 times 5, I'm going to make it 20 times 15. Now, remember I told you this bottom number tells you how many rows you're going to have. So I know automatically I am going to have two rows because I have two numbers. Well, what do you mean by two rows? Well, let's see. First thing we do is we work with our ones. Now keep in mind we have a ones and we have a tens. So we're starting with the ones. We have 5 times 0 equals 0. So then we put a 0. Easy enough, still same thing. Then we have the 5 times 2. Remember, we go from right to left. And 5 times 2 is 10. Again, we write backwards. Why? Because it's fun. And that's what math does. Writing backwards. All right, we just finished our first row. We finished using our ones place. So then let's just cross it out and get it out of the way. We're done with it. We no longer need it. All right, now we move to the tens place. And remember, we go from right to left. So we do 1 times 0 equals 0. But now we are on the second row. And you'll see that this 0 is a placeholder. This is not the answer. Whenever we go to the second row, third row, fourth row, whatever, we put placeholders. And I put it in the place of the ones because I'm finished using the ones. So now I did 1 times 0 is equal to 0. Okay? Remember, that first 0 is a placeholder because we're no longer using the ones place. And then I do 1 times 2, which equals to 2. And I just keep filling in my numbers from right to left. And then I add all of this up, and I'm going to get 0, 0, and 3. Now I'm going to do one more, and I'm going to make this a 3-digit number just so that you know what to do or you understand what to do, or you can see when I talk about the rows what I mean. So now instead of 20 times 5, oops, mine switched. All right, instead of 20 times 5, I'm going to put 200 times 500. Ooh, this number looks juicy. All right. And the only reason I'm showing you this one is so that you can see what it looks like to have 3 rows and how placeholders work. So again, first things first, 0 times 0 equals 0. That's straightforward. And then I move to the left and I have 0 times 0, which equals 0. Pretty straightforward. And then I have 0 times 2, and guess what that equals? 0. All right. I just finished my first row. Now I'm going to go to my second row, and I'm going to automatically cross out this one because I finished using it, and I'm going to put a placeholder because I finished using the ones. 0 times 0 again is 0. And then 0 times 0 is 0. And then 0 times 2. Guess what that is, y'all? 0. I now finished using my tens, right? So now I'm going to move on and go to my third row. And guess how many zeros I have to fill in? 1 for the ones and 1 for the tens. All right. 5 times 0. Guess what that is? 0. And then 5 times 0 again. Guess what that equals? 0. See how I keep my numbers lined up? And then 5 times 2 equals 10. And I'm going to just write it backwards, 10. And then I add up all these juicy numbers and I get 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. This is how we do multiplication.